Hey everybody, this is Husky back for my next walkthrough. This is the walkthrough for the next challenge in the Huntress 2023 Cybersecurity Awareness Month Capture the Flag that I wrote called Speakfriend. When you fire up the challenge and you go to https:// and the challenge URL with the port, you will find this site. So the brief for this one is that it looks like the website was compromised. We found the file that seems to be related. Can you make sense and uncover the flag? So we have this site to look at, and we also have main.7zip right here. So let's go ahead and unpack that into our analysis environment. And we've got the standard password of infected, and we've got main now on the desktop ready for analysis. Okay, Speakfriend was all about looking at the website, looking at the sample, and figuring out how the sample would be talking to the website. And the way that it did, spoiler alert, is through keying on the user agent of the binary. So this sample in specific has a user agent that it assembles at runtime and then makes curl requests to this website. So we've got malware that is curling the endpoint with a specified user agent string, and that way it can talk to the C2 infrastructure on the back end of this website while this website sits as the front end. And this website looks very benign and it causes no suspicion. Okay, so how do we figure this out? So one thing to note is that if we strings or floss the binary, strings dash and let's do 8 and then we'll do main. So one thing to note here is that if we try, it's actually a pretty straightforward binary, and it's kind of small too because it's a Linux executable, it's an ELF. But we don't have anything that looks like a user agent until we put a string together right here. So we've got Mozilla /h 5.0, but then we've got this interesting, like, it kind of looks like a GUID almost after that. So there's no like easy, quick way to identify the user agent in this, because this could be anything. I mean, we do see Mozilla and that looks like a user agent string right there, but this part after it is actually the interesting part. So one thing that we could do is boot up Cutter again. Let's open up Cutter and let's open up our main file here and take a look at what we are working with. Open, we don't have to load and write mode or anything. We'll just keep the defaults and we will open this up. All right, so from the function preamble, we can go find this. This is the interesting part right here. So this string that starts with Mozilla /5.0 and then continues on for the rest of the parts of this kind of like GUID looking thing is assembled. So it is moved into racks and RDX. And so this is like a live at runtime string builder that puts the user agent together. So there wasn't any just like one line, simple look at the user agent in the strings and pull it out. You have to kind of put together that this is happening at runtime. So from here, we then go into, let's see if I can find it. So this is where the curl requests are built, and we're using the curl easy library. So this is like a C runtime library for curl. So if we actually go over to the decompiler, I think we can see this a little bit more clearly. And we're actually going to use the Ghidra compiler here. I kind of like that one a little bit better. So after initializing curl, we're going to look at the value of this string built right here. So we've got two %S's, two placeholders here, right? And so what's going into these are the arguments that you pass into the binary. And so the argument here is the URL and the port. And so when we take the URL and the port, we're going to build a curl request to go to that URL and that port. And so the other option that's set up here is this one right here. So if we actually go to the documentation of curl easy set op, let's pull up the documentation for that. So the curl opt user agent documentation would be what we're looking at here. So when we initialize curl to use a user agent, we're going to pass that in as one of the arguments. And that is the second argument here in this list. So we've got a pointer to the curl handle, but then the second one is the user agent as well. Well, if we go back to the decompiled code, the second argument that's passed into curl is this argument right here. So this ends up being the completely assembled string built for the user agent. So with that in mind, let me get into my terminal here and let's do a curl request for this. So we're going to do something like curl-k, and then we can paste in the plain text URL, but we actually want to go after HTTPS. So let's see what that gets us. So if we curl the page normally, we just get the normal page. We get the thing that we are looking at, that kind of like Garter page, right? So that's not very interesting because we could just go to the page if we wanted to do that. But let's specify our user agent because I think that is the keying mechanism here. And so what we could do is -A, and then we could do user agent colon, and then we will take the string of the user agent, which in this case was Mozilla 5.0, and then you could copy that out from the cutter output or anything like that, or maybe reassemble it from the strings. So if we curl this, now we get a 302 redirect. All right. And the redirect goes to this interesting endpoint, which is at this GUID, the same GUID that's in the user agent /C2. So at this point, we would be redirecting into the page. If we had a web browser open, the redirect would happen automatically. We would just have to set our user agent for that. But for curl, we can actually just pass the -L argument. So like here at the beginning, I don't think it matters where you put it, but we'll do the -L. And that is follow redirects. And when we follow redirects, we get to the C2 endpoint and the flag is printed out. So that is Speakfriend. And if you're wondering about the title there, Speakfriend is, of course, a reference to Lord of the Rings when Gandalf reads the door on the Mines of Moria and says, Speakfriend to enter. That's how you get into Moria. And so here we were trying to figure out how the binary was speaking friend to the C2 in order to get to the C2 backend. So there you go. That's Speakfriend.